DAOs, the future of human organization as we know it. That's my opinion. But what do you think, AthensDAO? All right. DAOs and the future of human organization. This is my Twitter profile. I'm only showing you this because if you look, the very first thing you see there is DAO activist. Right? What does that mean? Now I know that some of the people here today are very experienced, you're very well versed in this ecosystem. And some of you maybe are a little bit newer, maybe some are in between. For me, I put DAO activist on my profile for a very specific reason. And I'm going to go into that a little bit today in more detail. We're going to see. Now, in order to understand what's coming, I put this quote here to kick us off by Maya Angelou. You can't really know where you're going until you know where you have been. So, to start today, I want to go back in history. I want to go all the way back and do a little summary. I want to do a little summary all the way through to where we've come to today in order to understand where we're going to next. Let's go all the way back 100,000 years ago. Now, there's some controversial information about what life was like 100,000 years ago. Some really cool conspiracy shit, but that's not for today. Hunter-gatherers were spread out all over the world. 10,000 years ago, after that ice age concluded, we saw the agricultural revolution bring people into more condensed spaces, right? Why hunter-gatherer all across the countryside if you have a field full of crops? We'll just build a bigger civilization around that field of crops. And that's the evolution that you see from that 90,000 year span. Then we go into the classical antiquity age. Ancient Greece, Rome, some of my favorite parts of human history. To be honest, I got in 3 a.m. last night here in Athens. I wake up in the morning, I have breakfast, I look at the Acropolis. It's one of the greatest feelings in the world. I came here a couple years ago to go through Athens and I saw a show at the Dionysius Theater. I went to Crete, rented a car and drove around. Some of the best times of my life. I'm fascinated by this classical antiquity age that started right around 800 BC, give or take. Now you'll notice the span of time between 10,000 BC agricultural revolution to 800 BC is a lot shorter than the 90,000 years from hunter-gatherer to agricultural. Next, Middle Ages. And this is high level, right? I'm skimming through this. Middle Ages to me is another big milestone we see. And the span of time between 800 BC to the Middle Ages is 1,100 years. It's a lot shorter than the 10,000 or the 9,200 years between agricultural and classical antiquity. The time span between these major jumps in human civilization are getting shorter and shorter. We go fast forward to the Renaissance. Again, a shorter period of time, a period of intellectual freedom, of evolution in how we express ourselves and how we think and how we behave. Moving forward, it gives birth to the Industrial Revolution. Again, a shorter period of time moves us into the information age. A shorter period of time, and then all of a sudden Bitcoin comes out to the age of decentralization. And that's where we're at today. And I hope that you see the point I'm making is that the span of time required to make massive evolutionary jumps as a species is getting smaller. So if Bitcoin started in 2009 to kick us off into the age of decentralization, it's not going to take another 10,000 years to see another big shift. It could literally be in a few years. And we're living in that right now. And this is the future that we get to make together as an ecosystem and as just people in a room hanging out, trying to make a better world. How and why Bitcoin? Why did I specifically put Bitcoin there? Again, some of the OGs in the room, you've heard this before. Some of you haven't. Either way, I'm going to skim through it in my own words. In order to understand Bitcoin a bit, I'm going to start by talking about cryptography, right? I'm going to go all the way back to the beginnings. The first known, at least as per Google, the first known substance or instance of cryptography can be traced all the way back to Egypt, 1900 BC, Amenhotep II. There's some hieroglyphs on his tomb that were a little bit misleading, and they think that was an early version of cryptography. Obviously, that's very useful in a military sense. Julius Caesar, 100 BC, you can see. If you're trying to communicate to your military some secret confidential attacks and you don't want your enemy to find out, easiest way is to communicate that message in a way that they can't understand. If they can understand it, it doesn't matter if they intercept it. And that was some of the earliest uses of cryptography, just swapping out a couple letters and only a few people knew which ones. Fast forward, 1918, same principles as Julius Caesar applied into world warfare. And we know that was through the Enigma machine. Now, anyone that hasn't seen the Imitation Games, guys, you got to go see this movie. If you haven't experienced and thought about Enigma and the implication it had on the war and on where we are as a species today, definitely check out the movie. Love it. Fast forward. I threw in 1971, the removal of the gold standard. It's not particularly related to cryptography directly, but it's very important because it set us on the trajectory to where we are today. Why did the gold standard get removed in 1971? Well, it says right here, the U.S. abandoned the gold standard in 1971 to curb inflation and prevent foreign nations from overburning the system, yada, yada. To curb inflation, to stop inflation. Did it work? 1971, you can see right down on the chart there, right at 1970, you got the blue point. Now, from 1910 to 1970, you got this little inflation up and down. There was a deflationary period. It spiked up a little bit, 1970. And in 1970, supposedly, let's remove the gold standard to stop inflation from going any higher. It didn't work. Is it possible there was another motivation? Is it possible that there could have been a course correction maybe in 1972 or 1973? Here we are, 2023, course correction has not happened. Inflation has gone crazy. But we can't talk about it. No. We can't say the government made a mistake. No, we can't say that it's not okay to print an infinite amount of money. No, we can't say that. Why? It's inconvenient. Look, quotes, inconvenient. Censorship is about controlling information. And what better way to control information to threaten people? Government has the absolute monopoly over the use of force, over the use of weapons, over the use of the prison system. So anyone that speaks against them, well, we just call them a traitor. We'll put them in jail. Now, in 480 BC, Greece said no. Greece stood up for their freedom. And that made human history, and it marked human history. So did the cypherpunks. Cypherpunks said no, we will not be suppressed. We will not be controlled. And this started a movement, 1980s, 1990s. Guys, I'm a movie freak. You guys got to watch this movie. If you have not seen Hackers, you have to watch it. Get a little taste of what it was like out there. Controversial movie, aside. The cypherpunks said, no, we will not be suppressed. We will make some progress. And they had to find a way to communicate. Well, how are they going to communicate? They did it through what's infamously known as the cypherpunk mailing list. In that cypherpunk mailing list, because they have to communicate the ideas in a way that's not going to get censored so they can, make the movement. In that mailing list was a he, a she, a they, a them, the her, the who, a group of people, an individual. Maybe it was an alien. I don't know. In there, Satoshi Nakamoto was talking and collaborating and discussing. The Bitcoin white paper came out October 31st, 2008, Genesis block, mined 1st, January 3rd, 2009. Here's our history in cryptography in a high-level view to get to Bitcoin where we are today. How many of you guys heard of Brekkie von Bitcoin? I love this. This is great. No one knew that. No one's checked him out. You got to check out his Twitter. A couple years ago, I was chatting with him about all this crazy stuff. I was talking about Ethereum, about DAOs, about this and about that. He wasn't having none of it. Bitcoin maximalism. Full on, hardcore line, Bitcoin or nothing. That's how he lives. And in the discussion, he came back to me with a reply. And his reply was exactly this. This is a direct quote of the reply he gave me on his email. He doesn't know that I'm posting this, by the way. But I'm going to send it to him because I think it's funny. And he said, in all of our discussions, he said, I just believe that sound money will result in better government, so the best way to get there is to do all I can to support Bitcoin. That was his reply. It was the best reply I've received from anyone in this ecosystem on this topic, bar none. None better before, none better after. I don't think I will hear a better one in my life. If there's one thing I want you to take away today, this is the foundation of the ecosystem that we're at today. There'd be no Solana, there'd be no Ethereum, there'd be no DAOs, there'd be no Ethereum Classic, there'd be no nothing. There'd be no ApeCoin, there'd be no City DAO, there'd be no nothing if it wasn't for blockchain. And blockchain was invented through Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is about making better money and about making better government. This is the foundations of the ecosystem. Now, from those foundations, a lot of cool things are coming out. DAO ecosystem, all these other great things. But As Maya Angelou said, to understand where we're going, we have to understand where we came from. And this is where we came from. Better money, better government. Bitcoin and banks. This is a personal story. This right here is the LinkedIn profile. Obviously, I cropped out the name because I don't want to get in trouble for frankly speaking, I don't want anyone to go and attack this person because what happened wasn't very nice. And so I'm protecting their identity. This is the LinkedIn profile of the bank manager that I had an experience with in 2019 that forever changed my view on banks. I want to share that story with you. It's very personal. I was in Japan for a month. I just finished selling my last company. I've been banking with TD Canada Trust my entire life. My mom opened my bank account with TD when I was a very little boy, maybe 2 years old. I've done over $50 million of business with TD throughout my last companies, throughout many, many years. And I flew back from Japan for my birthday, for my mom's birthday. We were born one day apart. So I flew out on the day before my birthday, you know, time zone, long flight, no sleep, all that stuff. I was in the middle of a lawsuit at the time too, which I won very decisively, by the way. Don't mistake kindness for weakness. But at the time, it was right in the middle. It was difficult, painful, emotional. Who's been through a lawsuit? Can I just out of curiosity, who's had to go through that? There's a couple people. It is painful stuff, right? I was right in the middle of it. No sleep. My birthday, my mom's birthday, I wanted to go and get my mom a present. I wanted to get her some cash for a new car. I wanted to go get $10,000 out of my bank, of my money, and give her $10,000. Guess what the bank said? No. They said, no, you can't have your money. I said, what? They said, no. Too much money, too short amount of time, we don't know who you are. I've been banking here since I was 2 years old, $50 million. What do you mean you don't know? This is my money. Guys, I cried that day. It broke me. The lawsuit, the sleep, my mom's birthday, all this stuff, it was too much. I broke because my bank wouldn't give me my money. It's not isolated either. Silicon Valley Bank. I raised some money from investors. I had a startup. We work with Silicon Valley Bank. Silicon Valley. This is the foundations of the tech industry. Okay? California, higher GDP than most countries. Silicon Valley area, started by Silicon Valley Bank on Silicon Valley Road. When I went out there and lived there for a year, I thought the best thing to do would go to the best bank in the heart of this tech ecosystem. Well, guess what happened? You know what happened with SVB. I got some phone calls on Friday morning, I tell you. My investors, hey, is our money safe? I said, what do you mean is our money safe? Well, they said the bank's gone. Well, what do you mean it's gone? It's gone. Whoa. Now, we got the money through FDIC insurance, but there was 3 days there where we did not know if my investor money was going to be there. How did that happen? What is a bank anyways? How can this even happen? I grew up thinking that a bank was like a vault. You open the vault, you put your money in, it stays there, it's safe. When you want to get the money out, you just open the vault, you take it out. No, that is not what a bank is. A bank is not a vault. A bank is a financial institution. It accepts deposits. It creates demand deposits while simultaneously making loans. Has anyone ever thought about why banks are free? Has anyone ever thought about that? You walk in, you open an account, you got all this overhead, you got staff, you got a big building, they're paid lots of salaries, they got bonuses. How is that free? How come I don't have to pay for my bank? How come I don't have to pay for the vault? It's free because they're taking my money and they're investing it. Now, some of you know this already. Some of you don't know this already. I want to hammer it in. A bank is not a vault. A bank is an investment institution. If you choose a bank that makes poor financial decisions, you lose your money. It's not there tomorrow if the bank makes a bad decision. Which means if you make a bad decision on choosing which financial institution is going to have your money, then you're going to lose your money too. That's what a bank is. A bank is not a vault. And if it's not a vault, then we need a better solution. And this is where Bitcoin comes in. Your keys, your wallet. And it's the foundations of everything else. Decentralization of your money, decentralization of banks, decentralization of everything. And now we get to talk about DAOs a little bit. I saw on the banner out front, the network state, there was a cool warning message. And if you click here, you might be joining the network state. Who's familiar with the network state, by the way? Awesome. I know you guys were at Breakpoint. Some of you were. I was at the Balaji's conference on the network state as well. If you've not read this book, it's really worth a skim through at the very least. The principle of the network state can be summarized into a single one-liner that's a copy-paste from Balaji's website. A network state is a highly aligned online community with a capacity for collective action that crowdfunds territory around the world and eventually gains diplomatic recognition from pre-existing states. We're talking about a decentralized country. Typically, a country is defined by geographical boundaries. Maybe you have an embassy that you can have access to your country in different areas, or maybe that country has certain plots of land periodically spread out. You know, France has that, England has that a little bit. But imagine a decentralized country. Imagine having 10,000 plots of land all across the world that were micro pieces of an overall country. And whenever you step onto that little piece of land, you're now part of that country. You're under that jurisdiction. You're protected by its military, by its police, by its civil courts. Imagine where anywhere in the world is a mix of these countries. And as a global citizen of that world, you have access to it. The first time that the principle of the network state struck me was after I sold my company and I was digital nomading. I think it was in Japan. I just came back from Thailand, and I was a Canadian citizen sleeping in Japan because that's where my bed was. I was, at hotels and stuff and at Airbnbs. I had a Delaware C Corp company, so I was doing business as a US entity. And my team were in the Philippines. Canada, Japan, United States, Philippines. Where should I be paying taxes? What's home? Is home where I sleep? Because then it's Japan. Or maybe home's where my company is, in which case it's the United States. Or maybe home is where my paperwork says, which in that case is Canada. Or maybe home is where I provide the most to their economy, which at the time was the Philippines, because that's where the team was. I don't know where my home was anymore. I never questioned this before. I was a citizen of the world. It wasn't clear. Citizen of the world. It was very decentralized. It was open. The network state principles to me really struck at that time. Before the book was written, it just struck me that it was getting confusing. It wasn't clear anymore. A decentralized country. It's pretty crazy, isn't it? Can you imagine what would it look like if you stumbled out the bar and accidentally crossed over into a different country? You stumbled into a different border. It's really weird. We're used to things the way that they are because that's the way they've been for our lives. But our lives are a tiny blip of human history, a tiny blip. We just went through 100,000 years, and in each of those points was massive change. It's really difficult to conceive what a decentralized country looks like because we haven't seen it yet. We're building it right now. And a lot of people tell me it's crazy. There's no way decentralized countries, decentralized things. It's crazy. It's madness. Madness. Madness? This is decentralization. This is literally the beginning, and we're building it right now as we go. It can't be madness if senators in Wyoming get together and make a bill specifically to represent the formal recognition of a DAO LLC. That's not madness. This is real. This is people on the other side of the fence. It's not always us versus them. There are people in power right now that care about what we're doing. Senator Chris Rothfuss, Caitlin Loomis. These people got together and introduced the DAO Bill LLC. The DAO Bill 38 for the DAO LLC. And this isn't the first time Wyoming's done this, right? Wyoming's very, very unique in this way. They introduced the LLC as a concept. I think it was 1970s, if I remember correctly. And they also introduced the first recognition for women's suffrages, for women's rights in the United States. All the way back was at, I can't remember how far that was now. Wyoming has a track record of doing revolutionary things. And when Wyoming does it, other states follow. This DAO bill has essentially been copy-pasted across the country in different states as well. Tennessee, Utah, I forget right now, but it's the beginning. And when Wyoming did that, there was a gentleman named Scott Fitzsimonis who looked at this new regulation and said, this is interesting. Who wants to start a DAO and tokenize the governance of some land in Wyoming? And that's really the foundations of CityDAO. Obviously, I'm wearing the sweater today because I've been a core contributor there for quite some time. Building a Web3 city of the future. I think it's pretty fascinating. As I joined that DAO, I thought, well, let's find out what happened. So I Googled Senator Rothfuss, found his cell phone number, and I thought, hey, it'd be kind of fun to just call a senator on his phone and see what happens. So I called the number. Guess what happened? He answered. You know what he said? Hello. I got to chat with him. Super nice guy. Brought him on my podcast. I've run 49 episodes of the CityDAO podcast. We did a full episode with him. And that led to us giving official testimony. This is me and Scott giving official testimony to the state of Wyoming to help guide the next levels of the regulation and the next levels of their DAO LLC, moving it forward to the next steps. So we did a full presentation to the state of Wyoming on this topic, right? This isn't madness. This is real. This is official capacity at some of the highest levels, making progress. Now, about CityDAO, I wanted to just share, look, $2.5 million in the treasury. It's a DAO. Who here's a builder? Who's hacking? Who's a builder and who's hacking? All right, a few builders, a few people hacking. As you know, DAOs are about builders. This is the treasury in CityDAO. We're trying to figure out what to do with it. If you got an idea, if anything about decentralized land governance strikes you as interesting, this money's there to support you. And I'd like to introduce you to them to help you through that process so you can be empowered to do cool things in helping to build a Web3 city of the future. Maybe it's in Greece, maybe it's here, maybe it's there. I don't know what it is. The treasury's there, you're here. The only thing stopping and the only difference between that and that is taking action on it. That's it. Speaking of making it real, I went to ETH Toronto earlier this year. I'm at the airport. Gotta love Canada. I go to pick up my bags, and who's standing beside me? The former Prime Minister of Canada, Stephen Harper. I bumped into him in the lineup on the way into the plane. We chatted for a good 10 minutes, and then we bumped into each other again at baggage claim. Standing there by himself, picking his own bag. Can you imagine Donald Trump by himself picking up his bags? No, only in Canada. Gotta love Canada. Nouns, goggles, ApeCoin, CityDAO. Got to ask him if he knew what a DAO was. He said no. Said, hey, would you like to find out? I didn't really give him a choice, actually, to be honest. I kind of just forced it upon him. But well, we got to have a nice little chat about DAOs, and I found it really valuable. I don't know if he did, I did, and I feel honored that I was the first person to introduce what a DAO is to the former Prime Minister of Canada. It was really cool. You never know when opportunity is going to strike. It could happen here, it could happen there. You got to be ready. Who's an action taker in here? Who's a big action taker? Do we have any action takers? No, like real action takers, like ready to like jump on stage action takers. Who's an action taker? Not real, like who's gonna actually jump up and do this on stage with me, like action taker? No? You gonna keep your hand up, or are you just gonna get up here? Oh, there it is. That's what I was looking for. I wasn't ready for this. Are you ready? We're gonna go for it. What does it mean to be an action taker in your words? 10 seconds.
Opportunity arises, you see it, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna see how I can, make the most out of it.
Okay. In one short line, what do you do?
In some way, I do help decentralization by building in this space.
Awesome. Could I ask you for some help? My suitcase there. There's something in it. There's a bunch of things. Can you just grab what's in it? You'll see. You'll know what I'm talking about as soon as you open it. Can you grab a couple of those, if you don't mind? Sweet. I got some swag. I'm giving out some swag right now. Yeah. Thank you. Here, grab one of those. Whoa. That's yours, my friend. Who knows AthensDAO? Has anyone heard of AthensDAO? Those guys are pretty cool. They gave me some of these nouns goggles to hand out. All right. Who are you here with? Who's your top, like, Are you here by yourself? Are you with some people?
Here with my company.
Okay. Okay. Who's your biggest supporter? Who's like the best supporting team member, or like one of the top supporting?
So.
Who? Put your hand up. Who supports this guy? Oh, there's a lot. There's a lot of hands. Okay, I'm even.
Whole Solana ecosystem.
Come on up. There we go. Fluorescent hat. I'm terrible with names. I'm absolutely brutal with names.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you, in your opinion. Now, you didn't. When I said action takers and all that, you were up first. You didn't come up first, but you put your hand up as a supporter. Yeah. Now, what's in your mind? What does it mean to support someone who is an action taker? What does that mean to you?
It means to be there with them when they're taking action and help them go and achieve their goals in any way you can. Energy in, energy out. You give good energy and you see good outcomes come.
To move an idea forward doesn't mean you have to be on stage. It doesn't mean you have to have a microphone. It doesn't mean you have to risk everything. It means you can support someone who's doing it too. If there wasn't support networks for me, I wouldn't be here. If there wasn't support teams with you, if there wasn't people supporting you, you wouldn't be here either.
All of this would not be possible without support.
I want to say like a leader on its own is just a lunatic. If there comes a second person who's like aligned with them, and then the third one, that's how you start the movement. But one person on its own, just a weirdo with weird glasses.
Let's give it up for him. Thanks for coming up. Welcome.
Let's go.
I don't know what to do with the second mic here. Maybe
I'm gonna take it for you.
You know what to do with it. You know more about it than I do. Action takers, leaders, support networks. We all play a role in this, and it's up to us to find out what that is. DAOs are very new. Some people say DAOs aren't working. But some DAOs are making some big progress. We know that. It's true. It's not madness. It's reality. City DAO bought land in Wyoming, 40 acres, decentralized the governance. Lynx DAO bought a golf course. A bunch of people got together, threw some money in a bank, said, hey, let's govern a golf course together. They did that. Bought one called Spey Bay Golf Course in Scotland. I'd love to do a big DAO trip out there. Who would go golfing with me in Lynx, by the way? I just want to check so I can tell them. A couple golfers in here. I think it'd be cool. Oh, you know what? I missed one. I think I accidentally jumped right through Kraus House. Yes. Decentralizing basketball teams. Kraus House, again, another DAO that went out and had a clear mission. Let's go buy a basketball team. Let's decentralize the governance. They're working towards the NBA. It's very expensive, so we'll take baby steps. They got a team in the Big Three League. The Big Three League, if you don't know, it's a 3-on-3 basketball league by Ice Cube, the artist, the musician, the rapper. And they've done 2 seasons now. The community decided who the coach was going to be. That's pretty cool. This is a DAO that had a clear mission and essentially is achieving it one step at a time. Lynx DAO, same thing. City DAO, same thing. And one of my friends in City DAO, David, had him on the podcast, is doing a master's and PhD in this whole concept. He published a paper, A Brief Sociological Ecology of the Metaverse. He's doing his master's on the metaverse and his PhD on DAOs. The rise of DAOs, the first thing you see on that paper. This is stuff that's going into official university. You don't get a master's and a PhD without it going to the broader system in the educational networks. In 100 years from now, in 20 years from now, in 10 years from now, people are going to go to school and study the metaverse. They're going to study DAOs. And they're going to study the things that we did, the things that you did, the things that you did. Whatever we do together right now is going to go into schools and it's going to be taught. It's not madness, it's reality. ApeCoin DAO. Love these guys. And girls, and they, and the thems, and the its, and all of them, all the pronouns. Really active in this DAO right now. 142,000 unique wallet holders have ApeCoin. 193 proposals have gone through, 6 proposals a week, 4 proposals a week. Anyone with one single ApeCoin proposes anything. And when you do, you get access to a massive treasury. This is after the crash. After the big crash, there's $578 million worth of ApeCoin sitting there waiting to empower builders, waiting to empower people like you. Now, Solana has a huge ecosystem. There's lots of support. Venture capitalists, angel, there's a lot of support out there. There's a lot of different things. CityDAO, I said, had $2.4 million. There's $560 million here. The point I'm trying to impress upon you is that if you are a builder, and if you have a good idea, this is there to empower you. The system is there to empower you. These communities are here to empower you. If you have one ApeCoin, you can write a proposal that the community is going to vote on. If you have an interest in the metaverse, in gaming, in designing token utility, in cultural events, in art, write a proposal. If you've never written a proposal before, just send me a DM. I will personally walk you through the process. Better yet, there's a mentorship program specifically in ApeCoin DAO that's free, by the way, to help people who have one ApeCoin to write a proposal, which is also free, to get access to the $560 million treasury. There's no cost for anything. It's literally a decentralized group of people wanting to empower builders and bring more utility to the space. I know it's a Solana conference, and I know that this isn't on Solana, but the point is you can get a lot of support from Solana too. A lot of support. The only thing that you need to do is take action. And that's the point I'm trying to impress upon you. This was a proposal. The mentorship program was put up by All City. All City's part of the governance working group. And you know, he's just a guy like us, right? He had an idea, he put it through, he wanted to build a mentorship program. He did, it got approved, and now we move forward. The proposal process is very straightforward. I can hook you up with the mentors there and walk you through the process. I wanted to do a shout out as well. AthensDAO is another DAO I do a lot of work with, and I put them on here because they're doing some really interesting stuff with Hong Kong, right? The Hong Kong government is trying to become, and on their way to becoming, a really interesting spot in this Web3 ecosystem. The Cyberport Center, this massive building, right? Again, this isn't madness. This is real stuff happening today. If you haven't heard about it, check out the Cyberport building. If you go to Hong Kong, I think you're gonna like what you see. What is an NFT? It's this thing, I guess. What is this? I can't tell you what this is. It's a three-eyed, pink-faced dude with a pencil hat carrying a cat. An NFT is a use case for the blockchain. Art is obviously one of those use cases. Governance and voting is one of those use cases. Identity, information, documents, use cases for that voting system, or use cases for NFTs. Why did I buy this? Why would anyone buy a weird-looking NFT? An NFT, to me, it's like an access gate. It's like a membership system. It's your ticket to a community. If you like the community, this is how you get in. If you don't like the community, don't buy the NFT. Do not get into this industry to try and get rich quick. Don't flip NFTs. I'll just be flat out. Don't do that. Don't get into this system trying to just make a quick buck. If you are, you're missing the point. You're missing the point of everything going on in this age of decentralization if you're in this to try and make some money. I bought an NFT with the Mochaverse because I like the community. I spent time with them. It was fun. We got to know each other. We got to talk business. We got to talk about the future. We got to talk about building a better world for our children. That's exciting to me. That's a community I want to be a part of. CityDAO, Kraus House, Solana, Dean's List. These are communities I want to be a part of. I bought the NFTs because I want to be a part of the community. That was my motivation. If you want to be a part of a cool community, research the community before you buy the NFT. I went to their head office and I got to hang out with the core team in Cyberport in Hong Kong. And I did all this before I bought the NFT. I went on a cruise that they sponsored. They had this huge cruise. It was amazing. It was supportive. I felt welcomed. I felt empowered. When I was a little kid, I did not feel empowered. I run a mental health podcast right now because I'm trying to help other people that had mental health challenges too. When I was a little kid, I did not feel empowered. As I discovered myself, as I grew up and became a man and I had companies and I found this ecosystem, being around these types of people is empowering. It's a good feeling. It helps my intellect. I help other people as well, and we get to build the future. And that's really exciting to me. That's why I bought the NFT. And of course, we have to shout out the apes, the Bored Ape Yacht Club. Went to Ape Fest. My friend Bouvier made this beautiful Mongolian deal that I bought off him, a one of one. And you know, when you're in a part of a community supports each other. The Solana system supports other people in the Solana system. People at ApeFest, people in the Bored Ape Yacht Club, they support each other. The Bored Ape, the Made by Apes program is to empower people in that community to unleash their creativity and products they want to bring to market, and they all support each other in that. It's an amazing community. It's obviously the biggest community in the NFT system. Look, again, no financial advice. If you like a community, then get involved in the community. If you want to get involved with Solana, be involved with Solana. Do that. Just don't get stuck on the sidelines. I do a lot of stuff, a lot of spaces on DAO thought leadership. I'm going to do more in the future. This was a space I held on DAO leadership, and we talked a little bit about that. Taking all that and condensing it down, a good leader creates more leaders. A good leader doesn't create a following. They don't need followers. A good leader empowers the people around them. All of you right now are here because you see something in this ecosystem. And if all of us go and support someone today, we're helping to move the whole ecosystem forward. If there's any one takeaway on the concept of DAO leadership, it's to empower the people next to you. There's a lot of people in the space I've seen that get stuck in the excitement or the hype or the buzz or the popularity contest of it. A good leader creates more leaders. Obviously, I do some content production with Bankless DAO. I love those folks. Educating bringing 1 billion people into the Web3 ecosystem. And one of the spaces we did was on DAO pain points and paths forward. There are a lot of pain points in this ecosystem, and there's a lot of work for us to do. And it's inspiring to me when I see a room full of people that are working towards those solutions. You're building products in Solana, you're building products in Ethereum, you're here despite the bear market, right? This is the room before we go into the next market cycle. We're gonna need a bigger center probably when the next cycle comes around. Regulatory items are super unclear. You know, the best thing about Bill 38 in Wyoming at the DAO LLC is that it's super, super short. It's not 100,000 pages to understand. The worst part about Bill 38, it's super, super short. We don't know what it means. What does it mean to have a governance token? What does it mean if it has a market price? What does that mean? If I buy some Oreo cookies and all of a sudden the price of Oreo cookies goes up, does that mean I bought it to make money? No, I just wanted an Oreo cookie. But in this world of decentralization, when we have a market value applied to an NFT or a token, it changes things, and it's complicated. Nonviolent communications, really hot topic for me. Who's been in a Discord argument? Yes, you know what I'm talking about. DAO, dudes arguing online. It is tough to resist when someone says that thing and you know they're wrong. Can't let it go. It's tough. When emotions go up, logic goes. Let's do this one more time. When emotions go up, logic goes down. We're not being ourselves anymore. We're back into the monkey brains. We're just running around as animals, yelling at each other. Can't sleep. Can't go out with our friends because someone said something wrong on the internet. I gotta fix it. If you find yourself being emotional, or if you find yourself feeling emotional, take a step back. Let the emotions calm down. Because if you engage while you're emotional, you're not going to be bringing the best version of yourself to that conversation. You're not. If you feel emotional, when I got in a huge debate, I hate admitting this, oh my God, it's true, I got in an argument and it was online. I got sucked in because I couldn't let it go. I thought this guy was wrong, he thought he was right. We went at it, and it escalated and escalated in public forum. You can see the dialogue on the Discord just building up, and that's called being toxic. I was being toxic. I didn't mean to, but I was emotional, and I was caught in the circle of it. It's not productive. It doesn't get us anywhere. So I had to take a step back. I took a big step back, let the emotions simmer down, and guess what? When the emotions simmered down, I was able to see a little bit more clearly. It's like a bull when you throw red in front of it. The bull just sees rage and it charges forward no matter what it is into nothingness. When my emotions settled down, I saw that this person that I was arguing with, we actually agreed on a couple points. Not all, but a couple. And we shared some of the same concerns, which meant we actually kind of, for the most part, wanted to go in a similar direction. All of us here care about decentralization. We care about a better future. We care about building a better tomorrow. That's something that unites every single person in this room. When we find ourselves arguing, it's only when we forget that we're actually on the same page. If you find yourself in a debate, in an argument, take a step back, let the emotions simmer down, and remember that we all want a better future. And we're all here to push forward the principles of decentralization. When we argue, centralization wins. When we argue together, our whole ecosystem suffers. If you and I get in an argument tomorrow, we're holding everyone else back. Remember that. The path to navigating dysfunctional situations in our DAOs is to govern ourselves a little bit better. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. All I can do is control myself. And if I control myself and bring the best version of myself in, if you control yourself, and if you control your own emotions and bring the best version of yourself tomorrow, all of us win. All of us are in the right direction. These are 4 domain names. I'm wrapping up soon here. These are 4 domain names that I bought. I own them. I haven't done anything with them yet. I'd like you to do something with them, though. I'm a semi-professional dancer in the salsa bachata world, so I bought AthensDAO.com. I love to dance. I would love to see a DAO come up about dance. I don't know what it's going to do. I have no idea. But if you have an idea and you want to launch a dance DAO and you organize yourself well, I'll just give you the domain, right? Just mark my words. It's recorded. I will give you this domain if you do a cool DAO about dance. I love tequila. Sipping on it, though. Sipping on a fine, good, smoky mezcal or a tequila. I mean, mezcal, tequila, same thing. I'm not going to get into that whole history. If anyone has an idea to build a DAO around tequila, launching a brand, tasting, sampling, I don't care what it is. If you can get yourself organized and get that off the ground on the Solana network, if you're going to do it, I will give you this domain and I will help you to the best of my ability launching tequiladao.com. I want to be a part of it. I want to empower you to do that. Restaurant DAO. I think it would be cool to walk into a restaurant that I helped govern. I helped decide what utensils and what was on the menu and what was the decor and what was the special. If you have an idea for a restaurant DAO, I'll give you the domain. Let's just help it move forward. Good leaders enable and support the people around them. And there's a lot of leaders in this room, and I want to support you. I will just give this to you. Accelerator DAO. As you know, I'm a startup founder. I spent a lot of my time in business. If you have an idea for a DAO that's like an accelerator or an incubation, I'll give you the domain. Take your pick. Solana Hackathon, to me, hackathons hold a special place in my heart. I showed you a few screenshots today about treasuries and about analytics across a few different DAOs. Those treasury analytics were tools that my co-founder and I built. We build infrastructure for DAOs specifically. We build tooling for DAOs. We build mobile apps for DAOs. Most of it's free right now because DAOs don't like spending money and it's a predicament we have to sort out, but it is what it is. It started at a hackathon. Earlier this year in March, we hacked for 12 days at Ethereum Denver and we built a product that got traction. It got users. It's got revenue. Hackathons are real. Hackathons are the beginning of some really cool project. If you hack today in Solana, if you hack this weekend with Solana, stick with it. If you're having a bad day when you're a startup and you don't know what to do next, send me a DM. I will make sure to help you the best I can to take your hackathon project to life. I want to help this ecosystem move forward. So that was a very special moment. We won, obviously, at ETH Denver. It was a big deal. And we built and launched Node Blocks, which is the infrastructure that you saw. DM me, I'm not trying to shill it. It's just a fact. This is how it happened. And ETH Denver is coming up again. I don't want to spend too much time there because this is a Solana focus. But I did want to put it there because I wanted to highlight this gentleman here, Jason Lee. Again, he doesn't know that I'm doing this, but Jason and I had some dialogue this year, and we had to sort out some things, and we did. Jason is one of the stewards at Ethereum Denver. Obviously, I work very closely with the ApeCoin Foundation and the governance working stewards. To be a steward of a major DAO is really difficult. Thousands of people, differences of opinions, everyone trying to throw their ideas onto the table at the exact same time. It is difficult to be a steward of a DAO. And people like Jason, to me, inspired me because he stuck with it. He stuck through the conversation and dedicated himself to find the solutions. When you bump into someone who's organizing important shit in this ecosystem, like Dean, say thank you. Stop giving him shit for something that didn't go right. The coffee was too hot, the coffee was too cold. No, just say thank you, man. Just say thank you. So thank you. Let's give Dean a round of applause here. About myself, short version. When I was a teenager, I had a lot of trouble. I got in a lot of trouble. I had some mental health challenges. I was not popular. I couldn't speak. I had no friends. I had no girlfriend, nothing. Nothing. It was terrible. My marks were bad. I was a bad student. I dropped out of high school. I left home. It was very difficult. I never graduated high school, by the way, just throwing that out there. I never did. And as time went on and I got into business and I built up my companies and sold them and grew into this ecosystem, I decided to, I felt like it was really important to focus on the topic of mental health a little bit. I run a mental health podcast and, kind of wrapping up, this is getting pretty emotional for me here, but when you're out there talking to people, you never know. If you reach out and help someone, when you think of someone you know right now that might be struggling. I'm sure everyone knows someone. When you reach out and help them, you never know whose life you're going to save. It's that real, right? I interviewed 49 people on this show, attempted suicide survivors, drug addicts, recovered, of course, sexual abuse survivors, you name it. Mental health is a real topic. And in this ecosystem, when we're working 24 hours a day and all the different time zones and we're yelling at each other online and the regulators are screaming at us, it's difficult. Just reach out to someone. Give them a hand. You never know. For me, it was a guy when I was 18. He helped me and he introduced me to the business world and my first 100-hour work weeks. I don't know if I should love him or hate him, but it certainly changed my life. So I think we're wrapping up here. DAOs and the future of human organization. I really appreciate your time. Hopefully there was something here that was useful. Thank you.